wealth being passed down from generation to generation, and how a lot of historically in America, a lot of black families haven't been able to experience that because of things like redlining or the GI Bill. Another motive is the cotton. You remember the scene where he's tied up and he uses the cotton from the sofa to plug his ears so that he won't react to hypnosis. That was a brilliant example of subversion on Jordan Peele's part. Cotton being the big cash crop in slavery ended up helping Chris escape the Armitage household. Let me dive into some theories here in the movie. I want to know your thoughts on these. So in the beginning of the movie, do you remember when the state trooper pulls over Chris and Rose?
Yes.
Do you think that the state trooper was actually trying to help Chris?
I honestly have never heard that theory. I kind of like it because it's an out-of-the-box. I like those out-of-the-box movie theories about maybe minor characters or characters with one scene. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. Probably not. Probably just another state trooper, I guess. But I kind of like that. I kind of like that idea. I feel like maybe he was trying to help. I think whatever you want your headcanon to be on that, you should believe it.
Well, I think, and Jordan Peele's gone on record to say this: the reason why Rose fires back at the cop, she clearly had ulterior motives. She didn't want to leave any trail behind.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's definitely obvious from when you see it maybe a second time.
Yeah.
You kind of understand, like, okay, like she doesn't want him to take all of her information and know where she's going and all this. And I mean, at first it seems like that's another thing that Jordan Peele does such a good job of, is what seems like a heartfelt scene, and maybe like in another movie that's not horror.
Yeah. That
would be a scene where maybe the audience is supposed to feel happy, but honestly it contributed, on my first viewing, that scene contributed to just that sense of impending doom.
Yeah.
Because something was going right, and I know that the genre is horror, so it's gonna end up backfiring.
Two other theories I want to dive into. This has been denied by the actress Allison Williams herself, who played Rose. I think she was also in HBO's Girls. That's not important, but that Rose and Jeremy are also under mind control themselves, and that they are not really sentient beings. Thoughts on this?
I don't know about that one. I mean, you said she denied it.
The actress herself denied it, yes.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. If the actress is denying it,
yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I think that, again, that's a fun theory, but I think the director's intent was definitely not to have them be under mind control as well.
Yeah. And this is the final theory I'll bring up. This is my favorite one of the three. Have you ever seen the movie Being John? I think I've definitely asked you this. Being John Malkovich?
I have not.
Okay. I'm reluctant to even go too in depth with that one because I like that movie so much. It's one of the most unpredictable movies you'll ever see. It's one of the most original. You never really know what's going to happen next. A brief description of it is John Cusack plays a puppeteer who accepts an office job and finds a hole in the wall basically that leads to a portal that allows him to see things through the actor John Malkovich's eyes, which gives him, John Malkovich plays an exaggerated version of himself, pretty hilariously. And Catherine Keener, who played Mrs. Armitage in Get Out, has a big role in Being John Malkovich. And the theory is that she uses this ability to see into John Malkovich's eyes. I don't want to go into in detail because there is more pieces of the puzzle here, but she uses this to inhibit people's minds and control and sell black people. So again, you haven't seen Being John Malkovich, but I think that's it really just comes from the fact that the one actress is in both movies. But
I'm not, honestly. I mean, you've probably heard those theories with like Titanic and Great Gatsby with like, oh, Leonardo DiCaprio, it's the same guy. Like, I don't really like those theories because they, to me, seem kind of lazy. It's like, oh, it's the same actor.
Okay.
Like, let's just assume that because they were in two different movies, they're connected. It's all one universe. I think that's a little lazy, especially like we're at a point where fan theories have been online for 20 plus years. Like,
yeah.
You've probably read a billion of those if you're a movie watcher. Even if you're not, you've probably heard a billion of those from your buddy who thought he was creative.
So we're gonna move on here in a sec, but last thoughts? Any last thoughts on Get Out?
I love the movie. I thought it was a great directorial debut, and definitely an all-time great horror movie. It's definitely gonna have it's one of those movies that's gonna age well for sure.
Oh yeah. I think, and I wish I would have brought this up earlier. My final thought on Get Out, as far as being a statement on racism, it's a statement on a particular type of racism. And I'll kind of let it all out here. Specifically like the white liberal race. And there's a line in the movie that hits it home perfectly when Rose says it and then Dean Armitage says it. I'm not racist, or I would have voted Obama a third time. He was my favorite president. They acknowledge the existence of white privilege, but secretly they love benefiting off of it. And I think the whole thing of white people taking over black people's bodies in the movie is kind of a statement on when black culture just gets kind of appropriated in the main. We see that a lot in the mainstream. We see that a lot now with TikTok dances. How a lot of the people that created those dances aren't getting any credit for it. It's all your Addison Rays and the D'Amelios and who no one is actually. Tell me, no one's actually watching the reality show. No way.
Can we not do the O'Donnell Factor TikTok special?
TikTok. Okay, yeah, good call.
I want to avoid that one right now.
Good call. Good call. But that's my final thought. So it's a statement on the people who simply pretend to not be racist. Anyway, so moving on, we're gonna go to a movie that was released just a calendar year after Get Out. Also directed by a comedian in his debut, A Quiet Place. And this is when I think of the movies that I probably could have seen in theaters that I never got the chance to, this one is near the top of my list. What do you think is the message behind this movie? Or what are your thoughts on this movie?
I mean, another one of those modern horror movies that's going to leave a great legacy and definitely age well. I think that the movie, it's different from Get Out. It's definitely more traditional horror, but it's also non-traditional. You have this entire premise of not being able to make sound or not being able to talk.
Yeah.
And kind of just plays in, and I think it's just a really cool concept that, sometimes there are these movies that have cool concepts for the plot that the director doesn't really explore as well, or they just use the concept and that's the whole movie. But I think that A Quiet Place is an exception to this for sure. The plot was great and definitely gonna age well.
So I also agree it was a great movie. It was innovative. It's probably the only time you could get me to watch a silent movie, honestly, a borderline silent movie. And I think the whole thing was, and I want to hear your thoughts on this. John Krasinski was the parent of a newborn at the time of this movie's production, and he's gone on record saying it was just about the fears associated with parenthood. And there's a lot of people that argued there were political allegories, which we will dive into. But just kind of being thrust in this scary situation. When you have a kid or kids, you kind of give up a lot of the things you used to have. There's a lot of things that you probably don't know how to do, that you're just thrown to the wolves.
I think expanding on, if I can say something here, Ryan.
What's up?
I think that you hit the nail on the head. I mean, him talking about parenthood and being exposed to that unknown.
Yeah.
I think when you look at parenthood, not only are you just scared about the unknown of being a parent, but you also have a person that relies on you, and there's that entire world out there that you don't know what it's like from your child's perspective, but you are responsible for them.
Exactly.
And I mean, I'm not a parent, you're not a parent, but I could imagine that is probably terrifying, especially as a parent of a newborn.